So good, so good, so good.
Great brands, great prices. Everyone's got a reason to rack.
You know they have Marc Jacobs?
Nike? Yes.
Just so many good brands.
Vince, Birkenstock, and more brands you love are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Plus, buy it online and pick it up in-store the same day for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Hey, I'm Mark Ronson.
And I'm Ray.
To celebrate 150 years of Audemars Piguet, we've teamed up to create something timeless.
A tribute to legacy, rhythm, and craft, with a very special connection at its heart.
A soundscape from two cities, two perspectives, and one shared vision.
Introducing our brand new song, Suzanne.
Looking for a sign to start that summer home refresh finally? Early access to Blinds.com's 4th of July mega sale is happening now. Blinds.com invented a better way to shop for window treatments with upfront pricing, no showroom markups, and no salespeople in your home. Choose from classic shutters to outdoor shades and more, all backed by our 100% satisfaction guarantee. Shop early access to Blinds.com's 4th of July mega sale now. Save up to 40% site-wide, plus a free measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Celaena accompanies Archer to a masquerade hosted by a potential rebel. When her snooping is discovered, she faces off with Davis, only to be poisoned with Gloriella, the same poison used to capture and send her to Endovir. She is forced to kill Davis in his home so she can escape to the palace before the poison can completely paralyze her, and her body takes her to where she knows she will be safe, with Chaol Westfall. With Chaol's help, Celaena is able to make a swift recovery, and she chooses to explore the palace library instead of venture into Rifthold for a while. When Nehemia questions the state of Celaena's soul, the assassin comes clean about her dissent against the king's orders and takes the princess to explore Elena's tomb, where they puzzle out the mysteries within.
Hey there, we're Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy, your book besties who take the novels you love seriously. This is Jac.
And I'm Amy, and we embrace and respect modern fantasy, romance, and romantasy books written by women. And so it's in our nature to analyze these books as we would any other novel we might have dissected in school.
With our combined 13 years of literary academic training, we use our education to analyze and give voice to the reason why you may love or hate today's popular books.
This is part 1 of this week's episode, where we're discussing chapters 12 through 16 of Sarah J. Maas's second Throne of Glass novel, Crown of Midnight. For a complete list of episodes and chapter breakdowns, be sure to check out our Instagram at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk.
Before we dive in, let's talk about Split.
Spilt.
I was so confident too. Spoilers, perspective, interpretation, language, and themes.
Spoilers. While our discussion is about Throne of Glass, important context from the first 3 novels in the series will be discussed without spoiler warnings. That is specifically Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. This is not a read-along for anyone who hasn't read at least these 3 books, and you will be spoiled from here on out. So please take this as your only spoiler warning. For all other spoilers beyond Heir of Fire and other SJM works, we will keep those to the breadcrumbs and broomsticks area at the end of the episode.
Perspective and interpretation. What we discuss in this episode are strictly our personal interpretation of the text. We do not speak for Sarah J. Maas and in no way know her intentions for her books or characters. We also know our listeners have their own personal views and opinions, and we encourage you to share your thoughts with us because every perspective and interpretation is worth exploring.
Language. Even though we try to keep our swearing to a minimum, explicit language does occur, especially when we go on rants.
I feel one. I can feel it brewing.
I know one's coming.
Themes. We also discuss some heavy subjects throughout the podcast that can include themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death. While we will do our best to give trigger warnings for the darker themes, we will discuss these topics when they are important to the text. Listener discretion is advised.
As always, we love keeping the conversation going because our listeners are so good at finding things we've overlooked. You can share your interpretation of the text with us by posting on social media, tagging us in stories, sending us DMs, or submitting to the form on our website. We also post more exclusive content and host live streams for our Patreon supporters. You can find us at patreon.com/booktalkforbooktalk. This week, we ask ourselves the following question. Who truly knows Celaena? Chaol or Nehemia?
I think we throw in Fleetfoot in there, maybe.
I mean, we don't see enough of Fleetfoot to really know.
The theme we'll see in this section is expectations. Chapter 12 starts and Celaena is going to a party with Archer. I think it's important to note that I was listening to Lover album this morning and got a kick of taking notes when I was like, the Archer came on. Anyway, Celaena is described as wearing, quote, a delicate white gown made up of layers of chiffon and silk patterned like overlapping feathers. A matching mask obscured the upper half of her face, and ivory feathers and pearls had been woven into her hair. The very image of this is very innocent, very like swans or delicate, dainty. And we are in the absolute opposite of what she was before when she was trying to get information from Archer when she was wearing a saucy little red dress. Now she is innocent. So she actually has weaponized femininity and sex in a different direction. And I'll argue at this very moment that femininity can weaponize sex in two different ways. You can be the maiden, the like, I'm just a little virgin. And then, or the seductress. So, versus like, I don't think you can see a guy pulling off like, I'm just a little virgin. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll last 3 seconds. Like it doesn't work for them. But Celaena's leaning into this like hyper innocent, hyper femininity.
Yeah.
And I believe like part of that is because she doesn't respect Archer anymore. He cowered like a little baby and she's done playing his sex games.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't feel the need to appeal to him. The irony is that she is the perfect counter to what he looks like right now, and she's probably appetizing.
Yeah, people don't talk enough about swans being horrible, though.
Well, I mean, Celaena's pretty awful in this.
Swans are dicks. Talking about swans.
Yeah.
Right? One chased me on sea.
You have it's very personal for you.
I was punting. And it came after me. All right, we can continue. If anyone wants to know more about that lore, I'm happy to vent about swans.
I think it's also important right now for me to talk about, I'm going to talk about the white dress more later in the context of Celaena does not have blood on her hands as the king's champion just yet. And that is about to change. And for me, that's what this white dress represents and will also represent the shift later on. Now, of course, while this is set in passing and doesn't really come about in this book, SJM is setting us up to repeat a Keltane situation. Quote, Lysandra, a courtesan with whom Celaena had a long, violent history and someone she was fairly certain she'd kill if she ever saw again. I hate it. I mean, I understand the mention of Lysandra. I love their relationship as it evolves throughout the series. I hate that all women hate each other.
I remember I posted somewhere on, I think, TikTok saying that Celaena doesn't have very good female friendship at the beginning. Like she's not very good with it. And I remember they commented her and Lysandra. And I just want to like find that comment and then just be like, all right, do we need to remind ourselves here? They did not start like that.
All people remember is Kingdom of Ash.
So true.
They don't remember the start of the series.
So true.
Honestly, I don't think most people remember anything before Assassin's Blade was published. I don't think people not until Manon enters the scene.
Just how much there is before all of the other stuff that comes in. Yeah.
At the beginning of the chapter, when we get description of Celaena's dress, it's actually not called a swan just at first. It's not called a swan until the context of Archer. And this is why. While she had become a swan, Archer had dressed as a wolf, his tunic pewter, his slender pants dove gray, and his boots shining black. His wolf mask covered all but his sensual lips, which were currently parted in a rather wolfish smile as he squeezed the hand she had on his arm. Like last week, Archer is being portrayed as a predator, and he's definitely handsy with Celaena, which we'll get to eventually. So he's coming across as the wolf, even though Celaena doesn't view him as a predator, right? She's the predator. However, when we know where this is going, it also makes me think of Archer as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now, Celaena might be thinking, ugh, he's a sheep in wolf's clothing, but the opposite might in fact be true. Celaena doesn't see beneath the surface with him just yet, even though I feel like some things should be obvious.
Well, no, because he's a sheep in wolf's clothing. In wolf's clothing. Like he's a wolf in sheep's
clothing in wolf's clothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is confusing when you're kind of trying to remember what's happening at this point in the story, because he was trying to get her there on purpose to get her to discover those papers. So all of this is according to his plan. And it's just like it's a contradiction, because at first we're like, oh no, she's the predator. But then when you get all the context, the information, and it's just, oh shit, he is the predator. He is the one who's after her. And in the end, she is the one who kills him. And even though she's killed plenty of people before, I feel like we've never seen her kill like we do in this book, right?
Yeah.
And we are about to see her make is it her first kill this book that we see?
Mm-hmm.
Is this one? And then the next kill she'll make will be Archer himself.
I mean, she kills some rebels.
Oh, all those other rebels. Yes, them.
And she tortures a guy to get information.
Additionally, when we look at this wolf mask costume that he's wearing, because he is wearing a mask, it also emphasizes some more sexiness about him. And this mask only reveals his lips. Now, I know people are like, that's kind of what masks do. It reveals your lips, but it's done in a sexy way, guys. So sensual lips. And I think it's going to be important because while Celaena is no longer playing the sex game with him, he still is. He is still very much trying to be charming, trying to talk her up. He will eventually, kind of like we were saying, get handsy with her. And in this moment, though, he's trying to get her to be familiar with him on an emotional level as well. And he tells her, quote, not the greatest party we've ever been to. And just like last time, he's kind of comparing their backgrounds with one another. He's reminding her that they've been to the same parties, they've had similar backgrounds, they ran in the same circles. So I think it's another play of getting her to be comfortable with him and to trust him.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that makes sense to the extent that we do see that connection in her brain when she talks to Nehemia later. Now, while Archer may be fooling Celaena in this moment, he's not actually at the top of the food chain as a predator. Archer tells Celaena he eventually needs to do rounds because his madam, Clarice, will, quote, expect an auction for me on a night like this. It's a stark reminder to both Celaena and Archer that neither are masters of their own fates right now and that they are pawns for other people's gain.
It's sad. I mean, it's really sad, especially when Celaena is just kind of like talking to him about like, oh, so Davis, your client, how long are you going to be here with him? And then it's described as Archer's, quote, wolfish smile flickered. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to have Davis as a client. He doesn't want to have clients. And with the auction and everything, it is very, very sad.
It is very sad, especially when we get a description of Davis later.
I know. But if SJM is trying to prepare us that it's okay for Celaena to kill someone, she's doing it here because she's like, hey, we're going to make him be a sketchy guy, because we see Davis in this moment pouring wine for people, including, quote, some young women who looked a year or two shy of 16. Celaena's own smile vanished as well. This was a side of Rifthold that she hadn't missed in the least. Okay, so we're talking about 14. A year or two shy. So 14, 15. This isn't just like a 16-year-old. This is young. And young girls are being brought to this party, are likely being sexualized, are being treated as adults when they are not. And this is SJM's way of saying, hey guys, she can kill him. Yeah. It's allowed.
Yeah. He is preying on children.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that it's under 16, because some people might be like, well, 16 is the age of consent in some cultures.
To drink and to do other, yeah.
Right. Not in this context.
No.
There are so many different power dynamics going on in this evening, and I feel like it's encapsulated in Archer's statement to Celaena about the rebels. Quote, regardless of what they might claim, I don't think they care about Aelin Galathinius. I think they just want a ruler who best serves their interests. They want a puppet queen, not a true ruler. One question I asked myself as I was reading this section was how much of these men's desire to put Aelin on the throne is because she is only 18 and a young woman. They want to take advantage of her. So to me, it just justifies everybody's death here.
Right. And she's becoming aware that her title of her real identity is being tossed around like a weapon and as commodity, like to be used essentially. And I think the quote you read, that's Archer who's saying, I don't think they truly care about Aelin. They just want to best serve their interests. Now, whether Archer knows that she is Aelin, I don't think he knows that she is Aelin, but he knows enough that Nehemia has given him enough clues that Celaena should be involved. So I think he's trying to also butter her up, being like, well, I don't think that way. I think Aelin sounds great. And this is going to make me sad because I feel like we're only going to see more examples of people trying to use Celaena. And one of the top people for that is Nehemia. So no one actually wants Celaena for herself, dare we say, except Chaol.
And we'll get to that in a moment. Now, while they're making their rounds through the party to get to Davis's study, Archer mentions that the rebels once saved victims of the king who were going to the gallows and smuggled them out of Rifthold. And in telling the story, Archer explains that they were being interrogated by the king. So Celaena wonders, quote, did Chaol know about this? Given how he'd reacted to killing Cain, she didn't think torturing and hanging traitors were a part of his duties, or were even mentioned to him, or Dorian for that matter. Celaena is basically telling us right now, Chaol has no context for how truly despicable the king is. She knows that Chaol is honorable enough that he would not be loyal to a king who interrogates and tortures people. That's important for when Nehemia dies. Celaena forgets this, but we know Chaol does not know. There's more hints to this in this episode that I'm going to call out because they're important for setting up Chaol's innocence.
Celaena and Archer need to get out of this party in order for her to go to this study and, find all the clues that are conveniently left for her. And Archer has only one way to get them out of there. Quote, no one noticed as they slipped through, and if they had, Archer's hands roaming over her bodice, her arms, her shoulders, her neck, would suggest that they were going through the door for some privacy. And we can see here that this is not being reciprocated. And I have the funniest mental image of her just kind of like walking and he's just, ooh, let me touch your shoulders. Yeah. And it's one of those moments where he's continuing to use sex as a weapon, but as any tool, in this case, it's a tool for shielding versus protection. But it's always comes back to sex.
You mean and protection?
Yeah.
You said shielding versus protection.
Well, yeah, like right now it's shielding versus like protection of like defending or fighting or something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I felt like it's both.
Yeah, I'm talking about in other situations. Right now it's protecting and shielding. I was talking about in other situations. Okay. But yes, right now.
Sorry, the way you said it just made it sound like they were against each other. So I apologize.
No, I probably didn't say it right.
Yeah. The act of putting his hands all over Celaena also feels very possessive of Archer. It feels predatory again, rather than him coming across as prey. And it was really funny to me as I was analyzing this, how nonchalant Celaena is. Because when we think about when she first met him, when she first started the dinner with him, she was like, oh my gosh, blush. He likes me. He thinks I'm attractive. Oh my God, I can't stop looking at his lips. And now she's just like, whatever. Like, yeah. Can we get to where we need to go?
Keep massaging my neck, my arms, whatever.
Can you go lower? Actually, I have a knot.
Right. But even then, like, I think because she's not responding, he has to go even harder. Because in the next page, he'll even, quote, lean in, brushing his lips against her neck. I wouldn't dream of it, he said onto her skin. Then he turned and was gone. None of this is working. Like, he's not getting her flustered. He's not getting a reaction out of her. But, like, she also still isn't suspecting him of anything. But to my point that I made earlier, it's because she does not respect him anymore. He cowered and now she's just not into it. However, I think it's fair to say that maybe he threw her off her game a little bit because, we're not seeing her best A game.
No, she definitely does not bring her A game. And to your point, All of it is pointless. They go upstairs. Archer, quote, always taking care to keep his hands moving on her lest anyone see them. But all the servants were preoccupied and the upstairs hall was clear and quiet. So all of this physical touch, it's unnecessary. It's probably bothering her, to your point, Jack. And so I don't think it's a far-fetched to say it's thrown her off.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also a slight moment when Archer leaves and Celaena thinks, quote, Archer moved with a stealth that probably came from years of slipping in and out of bedrooms. Again, both have the same set of tools, but coming from different needs. They are meant to be very similar. It's meant to make it harder for her to trust him and to eventually kill him.
I think that's a great point because we see it again when they go to open the locked study. Quote, before she could pull one of Philippa's pins from her hair to unlock it, a pick appeared in Archer's hand. So again, like you said, he's got the same tools that she has. In fact, in my point of view, maybe when Celaena did think highly of Archer 2 days ago, this might have been attractive to her. He's like her. He's prepared. I feel like her lack of reaction shows how she's not impressed anymore.
Yeah.
Also, she's the assassin, not him. He should be slipping out of bedrooms, not going into locked bedrooms. It feels like he's prepared. It feels like a power move for him to take control.
It's almost like he's unlocked this door before to plant certain clues here for her.
Maybe. And yet she doesn't think about that.
Yeah, like that was really easy for him to have unlocked this door.
Yep.
Because now she's going to go in there and there's just going to be this wonderful clue that's right there on top, ready for her.
So after Celaena has looked around the room, found the book with the word marks, found the clue that Archer's left, she hears somebody approach. Now, she's the only thing she's really brought. So she does have a dagger between her boobs. She does have pins in her hair. But as you were saying, Jack, earlier, she's weaponized the feminine. And that weapon, that picture of innocence, that picture of femininity is now going to work against her in this situation. She's going to try and weaponize it again. But before Davis comes into the study, quote, her dress was too big and the window too small and high for her to easily make it out that way. This is ironic because that is exactly how she gets out later.
I know, right? Yes.
In this moment, she is not willing to destroy her dress.
Yeah.
It's only once she accepts that her dress is ruined and she's poisoned that she's like, doesn't matter. We're going. We're going for it. Right now, she's not willing to do that, which I think is her downfall. She has forgotten she's an assassin. She's lost herself in this picture of femininity. She's lost herself in the baubles that she wears. And it's distracted her from her need to survive. And that, in my mind, is why the feminine does not save her in this scene.
No. Even though she leans into it, even though she tries to use it because she gets caught by Davis. And then the first thing she does, quote, Celaena leaned against the desk, whipping out her handkerchief, bowing her shoulders, and started a miserable sniffle sob as Davis entered his study. Now we've gone from the seductress to the innocent and now to the feminine, quote unquote, weak, which is being an emotional mess. And if there's anything we've learned between Trump and Musk fighting is that men are by far the emotional ones. Surprise, I knew it before this week, but somehow women get the brand of being emotional. And we can see just how much she is judged by this. Quote, Davis took her in again, his lip curling not out of sympathy, she realized, but from disgust at the silly, weepy woman sniffling about her fiancé, as if it would be a colossal waste of his precious time to comfort a person in pain. And you know what? Yeah, kill him. Kill him.
He has no empathy.
Yeah, who am I to say no? But where, what's supposed to be female emotions and what's perceived as weakness is enough to kind of bite her a little bit of time. He doesn't come in there swinging at her. And there's a moment when Celaena thinks, quote, honestly, she sometimes wondered if there was something a bit wrong with her for being able to cry so easily. It's one of those things that was highlighted a bunch because Kindle will tell you if a line's been highlighted a bunch. And it is funny. I think it's kind of one of those like, oh my God, I'm crying so much. But I would also like to say that this is a young woman who does not cry often enough for the amount of trauma she's been through. So, maybe sometimes you just need a good cry and you'll take what you can get.
I feel like if the crying comes easily, it means there's something you need to cry about that you haven't yet. Like, go to therapy.
I mean, yeah, I can. What did I almost cry about earlier today? I've almost cried like 3 times today. And I'm just a normal day.
I don't know. I menstruated early. Maybe I'm pulling it out of you.
I told you to have your uterus to leave my fucking uterus alone.
When does that ever happen?
Grab a snack, stretch your legs, and listen to this while we plot our next move.
As Jack knows, I'm a very handy person. I prefer to do all my own furniture building DIY, but quite frankly, there just isn't enough time in the day. That's why I use TaskRabbit.
I really wish we had TaskRabbit when we sawed apart my furniture and took it apart piece by piece just so that we can move it, because with TaskRabbit, we could have hired someone to take the whole thing out.
In our defense, it didn't fit through the door.
TaskRabbit would find a way.
They sure would. TaskRabbit connects you with skilled taskers to help with moving, mounting, furniture assembly or deassembly, home repairs, and more. Many taskers are available to help the same day. Why wait for you to do it when a tasker can do it instead?
All I had to do was download the app, or you can go to taskrabbit.com and find the best tasker for your job based on cost, skill set, availability, and my favorite part, past client reviews.
Once the tasker has completed the job, all you have to do is pay, tip, and review, all on the convenient TaskRabbit app.
Taskers have assembled over 3.4 million pieces of furniture. They have done thousands of home repairs, completed 1.5 million moves, and more.
Plus, with TaskRabbit's happiness pledge, if you're not satisfied, they'll work to make it right. They are definitely coming next week to build my girlfriend's bookshelf.
My tasker is about to organize my entire email. The virtual assistant option, bringing me so much joy. Tackle your to-do list today and get 15% off your first task at taskrabbit.com or on the TaskRabbit app using promo code BookTalk.
That's promo code BookTalk, BookTalk, at taskrabbit.com for 15% off your task. TaskRabbit, book trusted help for home tasks.
You know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and 3-day weekends, your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. That's why so many people are making the switch to Mint Mobile.
Say hasta la vista to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you.
All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts.
Ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium service from Mint Mobile for $15. Amy, didn't you say that your sister is on Mint Mobile and loves it?
Yes, it was the best option for her when she finally got her own mobile wireless plan.
Honestly, I think that it might be the best option for anyone who needs their own mobile wireless plan. It sounds amazing.
This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/booktalk. That's mintmobile.com/BOOKTALK.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months. 5 GB plan required. Equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Tax and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Celaena goes hard at describing how unattractive Davis is when she sees him, and I just have to take a moment to read it. Quote, "Age and too much drinking had pummeled Davis's face into saggy cheeks, thinning straw blonde hair, and a dull complexion. Capillaries had burst on the tip of his nose, staining it a purplish red that offset his watery gray eyes. Let's remember who this man is. This is Archer's client. I'm going to guess sexual client. From Celaena's description, he sounds disgusting, grotesque, and I think we're meant to pity Archer. And we don't mind that Celaena ends up killing him.
Yeah, we kill the Uggos, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, as a reader, this is Celaena's first victim as a result of her being King's champion.
Yeah.
We have to, as the reader, feel like she is completely in the right.
Completely.
When she makes this kill.
It makes it a lot easier if this is a predator who we know he is sleeping with Archer because Archer talks about leaving his bed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Archer doesn't like it. He's an all-around gross, creepy guy.
Exactly.
So stab away.
Yes. Davis luckily underestimates Celaena because of her femininity, but in turn, she also underestimates him. Quote, she had him disabled and on the floor in a heartbeat, but not fast enough to avoid the sting of Davis's dagger slicing into her forearm. Even when she's poisoned and is beginning to take effect, Celaena is still better, stronger than Davis, and it's only because the poison threatens, her reliving her trauma, being paralyzed and captured. That is when she doesn't think twice about fighting back, right? When she doesn't realize she's been poisoned, she wants to extract information. She's willing to leave this guy potentially alive. But the second she realizes, oh shit, I'm in repeating history, she's like, fuck it, he's out.
Yeah.
Quote, he lunged for her again, but she'd already grabbed his poison dagger. A heartbeat later, he was clutching his neck as his blood sprayed on her dress, on her hands. Imagery is so important here. Because this is the first death that Celaena has caused as champion, her hands are literally no longer clean. Her innocence has been lost. The white dress has been soaked in blood. Like, all innocence is gone. From this, even though this moment is about survival, she would never have been here in this study or killed Davis if not for the king.
Yep.
And Archer, technically.
Yeah. Which sucks because, she killed him because of the king, but also because of Archer. Like you said, it's it's shady.
Yep. A lot of people lying.
People using her.
And it's just not good.
Yeah.
Now, we know Celaena is desperate because as she's escaping, as she's running towards the glass castle, she thinks, quote, the glowing towers had never seemed more beautiful, more welcoming. She had to get back. Which I know she's viewed the glass castle as beautiful in the past, but I always go back to the first time she came to Rifthold in Throne of Glass, and it was an abomination. Mm-hmm. It is the home of this terrible king who killed her parents, but in this moment, it is a place of salvation.
And why is it a place that's welcoming and full of salvation? Because it has the one person that she feels the most safe with. Quote, Chaol, she moaned, seeking the familiar face again, but he was already running, smashing through his office. He bellowed her name as her knees buckled and she fell. Celaena's in her most vulnerable state, and she does not go to Dorian. She does not go to Nehemia, which I find to be important. She goes to the one person that she feels safe. And I want to throw out that it's more than just a physical safety. I think Dorian and Nehemia would have easily have protected her physically as well. But Chaol's not going to be the one who judges her like the other would. Yeah. The others would once he finds out that she killed Davis.
Right. Well, she doesn't feel emotionally safe with Nehemia because Nehemia is constantly trying to make her do things she doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
She doesn't feel emotionally safe with Dorian because...
For all the reasons.
all the reasons. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think, to your point, it's important because who's the last person... the last time she was in real trouble and she was poisoned, it was Nehemia who saved her from the Ridderak.
Yep.
So Nehemia does seem like the obvious next choice, but
Nehemia would judge her for going on a mission for a king and having killed someone, and Dorian wouldn't understand even though, she's worried about Chaol's reaction, it's guaranteed not going to be as bad as Nehemia's or Dorian's.
Right. At least Chaol would understand.
Yeah. And he does, because now we're in Chaol's point of view, and he is a worried boy. It's chapter 13. And we are now in Chaol's point of view. And everything he's been worried about seems to have essentially come true. Because, he's always like, take me with you. I worry that you're gone. So everything looks like it's kind of gone tits up. And it appears that it's all of his worst nightmares. Because, quote, with all those stupid layers of frills and pleats, he couldn't see the entry wound. So he lost it, utterly lost it. There was no thought in his head beyond a roaring panic as he shut the door, took out his hunting knife, and ripped open her dress right there. Hot. We get some knife play so early on. Damn. We go from like this outfit being a weapon, being something that she used to get herself into this party, to now being cumbersome, and it's stopping him from finding this potential wound. And the fact that it's Chaol who's the one who rips it off of her, I think is very significant. Even if you're going into kind of like what you're saying, Amy, of how, you know, this is a representation of her loss of innocence. Well, who's saving that innocence now? The man who gave her the purity ring. But is this Chaol though? Like, Chaol's the one who not just rips off but burns that dress, like which I'm sure you're going to touch on, but because I love your point, but he's got her back. And Chaol takes her back to her place, back to her bedroom, and the way he takes care of her is better than any ex has ever taken care of me. Quote, then the long hours spent holding her hair, holding her as she vomited, twisting her hair back, snarling at anyone who entered the room. And no one else in this book has taken care of Celaena at all like this. No one has held her hair like this. And I just want to flag that right now, that no one looks after Celaena other than Chaol right now.
Yeah, it's giving Rhys and Feyre, right? In Mist and Fury, where Tamlin never held Feyre.
Yep.
Rhys did.
Yep.
Note, I think it's important that while we're in Chaol's point of view, we recognize the change that we see. Even Celaena before this was like, Chaol was so bothered when he killed Cain. Chaol thinks in his mind, after he's learned that Davis is the one who poisoned Celaena and that Davis is dead, quote, he was glad Davis was dead, because if Davis had survived, Chaol would have been the one to finish the job himself. This is a far cry from the Chaol who felt guilty about killing Cain when Cain deserved to be killed. Chaol's feelings for Celaena have grown, and that's shown in this moment. This is an important indicator of that change, and an important indicator of how their relationship is going to develop even beyond the physical relationship that they will have in this book.
Stab one person, you can stab them all. He's like, you know what? I've done it. Do it again.
I got over the first one. I can get over the second one.
I mean, what's 2 versus 1?
Right.
When Celaena wakes up, we get this moment, quote, she recognized the smell of the sheets well enough to know that she was in her bed, in her room, and that she was safe. She looked to her left as if she'd somehow known, even in sleep, where he was. She's saying that she knows that she's safe, and yes, she's safe in her room, but really the safety is here in Chaol's presence, and that he had enough wherewithal to have taken her back to her room when he really didn't need to. Like, I honestly wouldn't have thought of that. I'd be like, I'm already having to save your ass. We're going to stay here. It's comfortable. And I think that Chaol bringing her back to her room is another moment of him really understanding her.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, it could have very easily have been stay in his own room.
Yeah.
Make life easy.
Yeah. I mean, a lot less obvious.
Yeah.
Taking her through the castle.
Yeah.
Now, while Chaol's asleep, Celaena notice we get a description of Chaol through Celaena's eyes, and it's kind of not the Chaol we're accustomed to. Quote, Chaol dozed in the chair, his arms and legs sprawled out, his head tipped back, exposing the unbuttoned collar of his tunic. Chaol is typically composed, put together, in control. But throughout this scene, we see how he is not that. By the end of the chapter, Celaena observes, quote, dark smudges lay under his eyes, stubble coated his jaw, and utter exhaustion lined every inch of his body. He probably hadn't fallen asleep until a little while ago. Though she doesn't say it, I personally think Celaena appreciates how ruffled Chaol is.
Yeah.
I think it demonstrates to her how much he cares about her, how much he worried, how much he was there when nobody else was. Now, the king is not here. But if the king were here, I think this is the moment where Chaol begins to fall from grace. And Celaena's the cause of that.
Because he didn't report it. She confesses about Davis. He says, did you kill him? She says, yes. And he goes, great, burn the evidence.
Yeah.
I got you, boo. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And even though the king didn't explicitly say, hey, Chaol, did she kill anyone? he's not reporting it, and that within itself could easily be considered a crime. So yeah, it makes sense that this is his fall from grace because he's going against what he's taught.
Yeah. I will also say it is another step of development for Chaol, the fact that he burned the dress. I didn't talk about the imagery of him burning the dress, but I think what it symbolizes is his growth. At the beginning of the novel, he was so bothered every time she brought back her kills.
Yeah.
And now he's not bothered. He's actually
relieved. Like, thank God that's not your blood.
He's tampering with evidence. He's destroying evidence. He's like, I'm on board. We're partners. Like, let's get rid of the evidence.
Yep.
So that doesn't feel like Chaol of chapter 1 or chapter 2 of this book.
Not at all. Even with Chaol getting mad because of how concerned he is with her, because, even though he's like, hey, let's burn some evidence, let's, rebels for life, he's still pissed.
Yeah.
But he's more like angry because he's worried about her. And she feels safe, though, and reflects on that in a couple pages. Quote, she hardly known where she was going while the Gloriella tore through her. All she known was that she had to get someplace safe. And somehow she wound up exactly where she knew she'd be safest. In fact, she is, the safest with him because he's the only one who doesn't want anything from her.
Yep.
There's no morning lecture about, hey, you know what you would be great is if you were saving people,
Yeah.
His only lecture to her was like, can you just not be so bloody next time? Because that scared me.
Next time, clean yourself up before you come to me with your poisoned body.
All right, listener, let's all hydrate. We enter chapter 14, and I mean, this chapter does nothing for me, but let's continue.
Tell me how you really feel.
When I was listening to it, I was falling asleep. And then at one point when I was reading this, I'm like, is that what happened when I fell asleep in the middle? So Celaena goes on a little library adventure, and there's going to be a lot of notes. But for me, there aren't a lot of notes, but then I just skimmed ahead and turns out there are some. But there's a lot of plotting, a lot of teasing out of what's to come in the future. Let's go into the first note. Yes, Amy?
I was going to say, before I added my notes, you had a full page of notes. And I was like, not a lot of notes.
I'm a whore with the space bar or like the return, like the next line.
Yeah. Short bullet points.
I will have, because you'll write sentences and I'll have 5 bullets of half sentences.
It's true.
Okay, so let's get into my first note. Quote, Celaena absolutely hated that it took a fair amount of courage to enter the royal library after coming upon that thing a few nights ago. Yes, this is a creepy figure. Yes, she's deciding to go hunting for this creepy thing in the middle of the creepy library. And I'd say a little bit more scared than we normally would get from her. And I'm going to argue that's because she felt safe with Chaol. She was just in his comfy presence with his comfy face, and not that she was sitting on that comfy face. Not yet. But it's just, she goes from safety and was like, it's kind of like you leave like somewhere warm and cozy and you're just like, oh no, it's cold out here now.
Yeah. My response to this moment was, you're a fucking assassin. You're not afraid. That's literally your tagline. You will not be afraid. What I really think she's afraid of is the fact that she's like, okay, I'm going to go look for this figure. Last time she saw the figure, she went straight to Elena. She knew in some way that destiny was calling. So to go hunt for this figure is to heed that call. To be like, okay, I guess I have to confront this. And I think she's afraid of what that means.
Yeah.
But there's a few times here where she's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it.
It just makes me mad because that means she's been gearing up to be on her destiny, and Nehemia and Elena didn't have to take certain steps.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Celaena wanders down to the end of the library and she goes to the very end and she's in the last bookcases and she's like, oh my God, these bookcases are so different. Quote, the bookcases here were all carved from ancient wood, their ends shaped into centuries, guards forever protecting the books held between them. It was here that the sconces ran out, and a glance down the back wall of the library, utter darkness. It reminds me a little bit of Elena's tomb, with the tomb soldiers kind of carved out with her own image carved out. And I think that it's a good one to have because it's about to tease out some Fae / have some very contradicting moments from what we find in Elena's tomb.
Yeah. So before we venture into that darkness, I wanted to make a side note where as Celaena's entering the library, she thinks, quote, she knew there were a few scholars and librarians about, but they mostly kept to their private studies. The size of the place was overwhelming. It was a castle in itself. Now, I know we talked about it last season, but just a reminder that for a king who burns books everywhere he conquers, he has a massive library. It is symbolic of his power, and it's not shared with many. And so the fact that we have this dark corridor, maybe it leads to the darker side of his powers or secrets or whatever. So just putting that out there. Also, I don't care how big this library is. How can you not have light so that it's utter darkness?
Yeah.
Quote, sconces were few and far enough apart that she often had to take several steps in near darkness. I feel like that is a lawsuit waiting to happen. Celaena needs workman's comp if she trips and breaks her ankle.
Yeah.
Now, symbolically, Celaena is stumbling around searching for information, and no one is giving her the whole truth. And we see that in this darkness. She is surrounded by books, she's surrounded by knowledge, but she is fumbling around in the dark as she tries to pursue rebels and understand what the king's plans are. It also sets an eerie scene as she enters the tunnels and as she discovers something lurking down there. Quote, she reassured herself as the silence of the library became a living thing. We're supposed to get the heebie-jeebies, right? We're supposed to feel like something is lurking around the corner. When she gets to another dark corner, she can feel, a presence. I wouldn't even say a presence. She feels something that is so ineloquent. But back to my point from earlier about the mysterious figure, she has over and over again resisted the call of destiny. She has resisted the things that are right in front of her. She's resisted the fact that Moore is a sentient, inanimate object. She's resisted that the figure is probably not human. She doesn't want to face what is certainly going to be hard tasks that Elena is going to require of her, that she's going to have to fulfill. But for once, like I said, she is standing up and facing it. And we see it a few times. And to your point, Jack, and we can talk about this again later, but I just think Nehemia is impatient.
Yeah.
And I think if she had given Celaena more time,
more information,
Celaena would have answered the call.
Agreed.
Instead of trying to manipulate her and keep things from her. Anyway, quote, she could end it now and go back to her rooms to contemplate ways to pry information from Archer's clients. One wall had been explored, one wall that revealed nothing. She could do the back wall tomorrow. But she was already here. Celaena picked up the torch.
I just had a fucked up thought.
Yeah.
You know how, if anyone's new, when we did the Crescent City book, quick spoiler for the first Crescent City book, I lost it when we were recording when Lahaba died. Mm-hmm. And we were recording and I could not, Amy was laughing the whole time. I could not hold it together. I was sobbing throughout the recording. It was one of the funniest, heartbreaking moments. I'm going to pop some champagne when Nehemia dies.
And that's SJM's fault.
And that's SJM's fault. I hate that.
That is SJM's fault.
That the only, again, we're mad that the only POC character dies and sucks.
Yeah.
Blaming SJM for it.
Yep.
I feel dirty. This is how I feel about when I'm supporting the Panthers right now in the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't like Florida. I hate Florida. But right now, go Florida.
Sorry to all our Florida listeners, by the way.
I think they know. Have you met anyone from Florida? They're the first to apologize to you.
Yeah, I mean, my sister-in-law is from Florida.
Okay. Right as Celaena finds another secret passage and decides to go on another dangerous little journey, Dorian wakes up. Quote, Dorian jerked awake at the sound of a clock chiming and found himself sweating despite the fierce cold in his bedroom. I feel like this is safe to say that this is the first time he's waking up because Celaena's in danger. Mm-hmm. We're going to get that moment again when Gavin.
I think it's Gavin.
Yeah. Newsom.
No. Is it?
Elena and Gavin.
I always, when I hear the name Gavin, it's either Gavin Newsom or Gavin DeGraw.
I don't want to be anything other than. Can you confirm it is Gavin?
I'm looking. Yeah, it is Gavin.
I am never going to look at this whole scene again. I don't want to be anything other than. And then Newsom shows up. So it was just kind of like a funny moment to me that, you know, that he wakes up, and later on we're going to get Gavin waking him up, and just kind of just like a clocked it. This is because there's literally no reason for him to have woken up. There's nothing that his scene provides us.
Except I think it does foreshadow his magic.
That's what I'm saying is, like, within the context, there's nothing of like,
oh yeah.
There's nothing that's happening but the foreshadowing.
Yes, exactly.
If there's anything that this castle loves, it's a tapestry that has a hidden entrance. Bitches love tapestries with hidden entrances. In this
I think
castle,
I need to put a tapestry in here somewhere.
Over your bathroom door. And be like, it's a secret entrance.
I know.
It goes to a magical tunnel with my toilet. It's just so dramatic that every entrance has a tapestry.
Yeah.
So, but this one is a special tapestry because of how kind of threatening it is. Quote, "There was no depiction of Celaena or a stag or anything lovely in green. No, this tapestry woven from red thread so dark it looked black depicted nothing. Red we've associated with the king in the previous book. We aren't getting as many red associations in this book, but I think it's still there. And I think what we can at least say is that green is always represented, or typically represented, as good. We're going to get that again later on in this episode, but it's like, what? There's no green of my hometown of Terrason. This can't possibly be a good tapestry. Let's go down this tunnel.
So there is a breadcrumb moment while Celaena is walking down this tunnel stairwell thing that depicts a forest and fae. Quote, "Celaena didn't need a historian to know that this stairwell was old, far older than the one through which she had just descended, perhaps even older than the castle itself. Why had Gavin picked this site to build his castle? Had there been something here before? Or something beneath it worth hiding?" So yes, the answer is yes. But also, this is a breadcrumb because there are going to be many, many moments where Celaena demonstrates knowledge of the ancient, of the fae, that end up being key to the reveal of her identity.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for listening to part 1 of this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy. Stick around for part 2, which airs on Thursday.
We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. We would also love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our forum at booktalkforbooktalk.com for a chance to have your feedback discussed during a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk.
Bye.
You know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and 3-day weekends, your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. That's why so many people are making the switch to Mint Mobile.
Say hasta la vista to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you.
All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts.
Ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium service from Mint Mobile for $15. Amy, didn't you say that your sister is on Mint Mobile and loves it?
Yes, it was the best option for her when she finally got her own mobile wireless plan.
Honestly, I think that it might be the best option for anyone who needs their own mobile wireless plan. It sounds amazing.
This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/booktalk. That's mintmobile.com/BOOKTALK.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months. 5 GB plan required. Equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Tax and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.